Hey guys, welcome back to the course. So in the last lecture, we covered the best practices for reaching out to your network. Your network is any group of people you can contact and get a response from. Yes, you do have a network, and there is a way to do it without feeling like a complete spammer. Now, I know a lot of you out there have trouble connecting this to actually doing it. It's one thing to just say, contact them with these best practices, and there's another thing to actually see it. So that's what we're gonna do in this lecture. We're gonna practice writing that email. So let's get to work constructing our message. Remember, we have a list and it's made up of different types of people. Number one, it's people that we have contacted recently, as soon as 6 months ago. Number two, it's people that don't club baby seals for fun. Number three, it's people who are remotely relevant to what you're doing. Remotely relevant. Now to get this started, as we suggested prior, we're going to whip out an email. Open up a Gmail, Apple Mail, or invent a time machine, go back to the 90s and open it up in Hotmail. If any of you have taken any of my other courses, you probably remember the 3 tenets of cold emailing. Now in this exercise, we're not exactly cold emailing because they know you, so it wouldn't be cold, but they're not all gonna be your best friend from forever, so it's kind of like lukewarm emailing. But it's worth a refresher on those tenets because those cold emailing principles are gonna help us pretty much the same here. Now, there were 3 of them. 1 was that you have to keep it short. 2 was you have to make sure that the email is personalized. And number 3, you have to make sure it explicitly lays out how it might be valuable to them. In this case, we follow the first 2 rules religiously, but the last one isn't completely necessary because the dynamic's a little bit different. And if you do it wrong, it almost sounds like you're trying to sell it to them and convince them it's gonna help them, and it's not necessary. Now, the first thing, like always, is going to be your subject line. In this case, the person we are emailing presumably is open to receiving email and will open regardless, so there's really no sense in writing "I'm on fire" in all caps. Since the stakes here are low, there are really a lot of different ways to do this. I personally would suggest you write something that refers to you or uses a personal pronoun and sounds like you are merely updating them on your life. No, I don't mean that talk we had. I mean something like "my new project" or "my new business." What I would not suggest doing is something like "checking in," because that's almost kind of like a Trojan horse email where they think they're going to check in, but really you're just loading their computer up with malware. The point is, you don't want that mismatch between what they think the email is and what it actually ends up being, because that's what comes off as disingenuous. Also, on a similar token, I wouldn't suggest saying something like "need your help," because it signals you might need actual help, which could be misconstrued, or it could actually deter people from opening the email. It's a sad fact, but true. They might not open it if they think it's gonna then ask them to do something. Okay, so go with whatever makes sense to you. Just don't mislead them as to what's in the actual body of the email, and don't scream that you need help. All right, so in the actual body of the email, we need to start off in a personal way. If you opened an email, even if it was from one of your friends and the first line was trying to sell you beef jerky, well, you wouldn't be thrilled about it. Even if it was your friend, and even if you really did like beef jerky. The best thing I would suggest doing is one of a number of things. You could mention something about the last time you connected, and if you can't remember, just try to look it up. You could throw in a personal anecdote. Hey, remember that knee slapper of a joke John told about killing his wife? Mention that. If you know of something they did, and something that they would also remember, well, then try to mention that. A vacation, a promotion, a change in job, a child, whatever. Do any number of these things, but make sure you open briefly with something personal that you can actually connect on. I'm talking 2 to 3 sentences short, and by the way, just saying, "hope all is well," come on, that's just way too lazy. You know you can do better. Okay, so that is paragraph number 1. You are reminding them that you care enough to contact them, and you're getting some, "hey, this isn't an automated email blast" out of the way. On to paragraph number 2. Here's where we turn a little bit and start introducing what we've been working on. I personally would start with a sentence that connects your business to them in some way. Do you remember when we were talking about blank? Do you remember that company we talked about? If you think hard enough, there's always something you can tie in here. Do you remember how much I love beef jerky? Well, let me remind you. I'm actually pretty impartial to beef jerky. The point here is that you don't want to merely write 2 to 3 sentences of personalize how you doing and then copy and paste your business or project description right after that. You're not really gonna carry them over to the next paragraph, and again, you just sound like a cheese ball. So segue a little by introducing some relevance, then explain what you're doing. Now, here's a word about tone. Don't lose sight of the fact that you are talking to a friend/acquaintance. This is not a blog post, so write the way that you specifically would speak to that person. You speak differently to different people, unless, of course, that's just me, and I should be having an existential crisis right now. No, I think I'm good. Past that, just keep it simple. Don't introduce jargon that they wouldn't understand. If they're in the industry, then okay, well then you can get away with it, but if they're not, well, you reasonably have to tone it down. I generally like to do it like this. Number one, I like to give them a summarized sentence of what my business or product or project is, and attach it in a way like, I started blank. I went ahead and made blank. Number two, give them the latest news. I just sold 100 widgets, just went live, just got the site done. Then try to round it out with any accolades you can mention that might make it a little more noteworthy without sounding like you're just bragging. It's pretty cool, I was featured here. It was bought by X amount of people in X amount of countries. Got a sale with the Fortune 100 beef jerky company. Now, in the last paragraph, we're probably at 7 to 10 sentences by now. You just want to bring this home and again, connect it back to the person and try your best to articulate why they should care. It could be as simple as, hey, I respect your advice. Can you give me some feedback? Or what do you think? Or it could just be something specific to how this might benefit them in some kind of vague way. Really just try to get creative here. The point is that there's really some currency to be exchanged here, so don't waste the opportunity. Asking people for their advice, believe it or not, makes them feel like you care about their opinion, even if it's not true at all. This is also your opportunity to put in some form of a call to action. Hey, can you look at this? What do you think about this? Do you know anyone who'd be interested in this? Okay, so it's really quite simple. 2 to 3 sentences, getting mushy and personal. 3 to 4 sentences saying what you're doing, what's changed or what's new, and what you're doing right. Then wrap it up with 2 sentences or so, calling them to do something or just reminding them why they might care. Cool? Okay, it's actually quite easy. Just open up your email and honestly try it out. To give you guys a quick example of a bad version of a cold email to your network, we'll run through one I actually found today real quick. This is one from a site called ladder.io, and it's a good reminder why the internet is not made of all great things. It goes something like this. Hey Dave, I'm selling premium dog biscuits on a subscription for $50 per month, taking 20 pre-orders at that price. PayPal me $50 at example@email.com if you want in. Know anybody else that would be interested? Feel free to forward this email. Any questions, just hit reply. Yes, that is an actual example template that was actually suggested by someone. There's no personalization, no mention of our relationship, and not even the broadest attempt to explain why I might care about doggy biscuits. Does he think everyone cares about said doggy biscuits? Like I'm gonna flip my desk right now and run to my wallet because you said doggy biscuits. And then the next part is obviously just, wow, no justification of why it's great or interesting, no description of the product, and seriously, he's using that pre-order limit trick for his friends. 20 orders and what? The world can't supply 21 dog biscuit bags? Seriously, Dave, you're number 21, sorry, get lost. Okay, I think you get the point. We really don't need to dive in anymore to explain why that one is just awful. It's brief, yes, but there's no personal touch, and you can kind of tell by the tone of this that the writer probably despises Dave. Whatever he did, we can only imagine. Okay, so you got the tools, you know what to do. Open up your email client and get started. If you're stuck, post in the Slack group. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next lecture.